Going on, everybody? This is Lady Luck here again. All right. So here's going to be my video in detail about some of the similarities in one of the vendors that was already charged from an FBI investigation that was connected to Super Stupid, that she took, for some reason, a risk and gamble on paying checks that were not approved by the board for services to do God knows what. And the company is called Oak Construction Inc. And that's OAKK. I kind of went over just a quick overview and information about that company when I went through one of the injunctions that the trustees filed, which I'm going to pull up again. And there is an invoice from that vendor with 3 checks that she signed without the village clerk's signature on it, which was a violation of local ordinances and state law regarding having 2 signatures on those checks. It's not her personal checking account, so no, she does not get to just sign a check. She never had the right to do that. And because, she reached an agreement in court with the trustees for Jason House and the village clerk Key to be the signatories on that bank account that she signed those checks with from Oak Construction. That was one of the reasons why he was and still is a signatory on the bank account for the village of Dalton. She agreed to it. And that injunction was one of the reasons why she got caught. So we're going to take it back to this particular contractor, and I'm going to kind of give some background information and read a couple of articles relating to this particular vendor and another case that involves Siggy with the car wash property. Yep, it's 3 pins associated with that. We're going to dive a little into the pins, which is the property index numbers, and just kind of touch on the latest subpoena regarding the property with St. Patrick's. Not going to dive deep into St. Patrick's particularly in those 3 pins in that subpoena, but more so do a high-level overview of the background process on what exactly is going on with how they're acquiring these pins and properties and lots, and how the same vendor, this vendor here, that was the CEO of Oak Constructions Inc., did the same exact thing. So let's get started. This is from Illinois Answers Project. Contractor implicated in Chicago area bribery case surfaces in federal investigation of Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard. At the urging of Mayor Tiffany Henyard, the village of Dalton paid a West Suburban construction company linked to multiple corruption cases more than $200,000 in no bid, no contract work to replace senior homeowners' roofs and windows. Now federal investigators are seeking records from Dalton officials, and that's in the FBI subpoena that was issued last year. I think it was the April 2024 subpoena, concerning the construction project undertaken by Summit-based Oak Construction Company owned by Alex Nitchoff. His family ran a restaurant in town. His father once engaged in an apparent scheme to attempt to clear hundreds of thousands of dollars in unpaid taxes from properties the family owned in the village. So I highlighted some things in my reading and researching here that I want you guys to keep in mind. Cleared hundreds of thousands of dollars in unpaid taxes from properties. Just keep that in mind as we go through this, because you're going to see the same pattern, the same things show up to explain why the FBI is asking for documentation in the latest subpoena related to that St. Patrick's restaurant, 3 other pins around that restaurant. It's like pieces of lot or land. And also how the car wash property has already gone through the courts, and is probably another case that the FBI is looking into as well. So just keep that in mind. Alex Nitchoff, Oak's president, is awaiting sentencing after he pleaded guilty in January. This article is old, but it's the concept of what they were doing with the properties, with the taxes, that I want you guys to pay attention to. And the bribery with the Cook County Assessor's official for property tax breaks. Okay, so he pleaded guilty in January. And I want to say this was, January of 2024. This article came out in June. So he pleaded guilty to bribery as well as scheme to clear hundreds of thousands of dollars in unpaid taxes for properties. And of course, getting the Cook County assessors involved for tax breaks. Of course, they got a background about his father, who was implicated in a home renovation bribery scheme involving former Chicago Alderman Kerry Austin. That's the 34th Alderman, I'm assuming. Oak Construction was subpoenaed as a part of the federal investigation of Austin, and that was reported in 2019. Of course, the attorney declined to comment, and Austin denied any wrongdoing. Federal subpoenas were issued this spring to the village of Dalton and Thornton Township, where Henyard is the supervisor, and records show Oak was named in the Dalton subpoena. They are part of an investigation, intensifying federal investigation into Henyard, self-styled super stupid, and that's what we're gonna call him. So this is some of the things that were highlighted in the reporting here, and other people that were named in that subpoena from 2024 that was issued last year. And if you guys look down, you see the former mayor in Calumet City, Jerry Genova, who was sentenced to 5 years in prison on corruption charges going back to 2002. I highlighted that because I want you all to understand, just because you're a mayor does not mean you can't go to prison. And he was sentenced to 5 years in prison. And Alex Nitchoff was also sentenced to 5 years in prison. Just based on the apparent scheme for the tax breaks and the bribery, he got 5 years in prison. Okay? I'm going to pull up another article regarding the actual Cook County assessor that facilitated the bribery, that was also sentenced to 5 years in prison. You're noticing a theme here. There's a theme. There's a pattern going on here, people. 5 years in prison just on one charge. I think he got 2 charges, 1 count of 2 charges. That got him 5 years in prison. You can just imagine if Super Stupid has 5 charges, how much time she looking at? People think I be playing when I say she going to prison. No, she going. So, of course, you got it highlighted here, some of the other people that were named. Of course, her Scam Cares Foundation. She's not a stranger to scams and schemes. That's, Super Stupid is a swindler. All right? She's not a stranger to the concept of a scam or a scheme. She's not. And it's something she's just been either connected to or familiar with or done herself for a while. It's just not coming to light because she decided to be somebody's mayor and supervisor and started spending tax dollars like she's lost her damn mind. So, of course, they have Siggy, who's her married boyfriend, getting $100,000 a year salary that he shouldn't have got because, like he said in the Tommy G video, she doesn't handle the hiring and the firing. But yet she hired him. Why? No one knows. But him being fired was definitely warranted. Then, of course, they got Keith Freeman, who flipped. And then you have Alex Nitchoff. And they go into some background with his family even. Longtime fixture in Dalton, having owned and operated Olivia's Restaurant, a well-known diner in town that has since been turned over to new ownership. They are also absentee landowners. Chicago Sun-Times investigation showed that Nitchoff attempted to evade several $100,000 in unpaid property taxes on Dalton properties by letting their taxes become delinquent and then rebuying the properties through shell companies for a fraction of the debt through Cook County scavenger or tax sales. I highlighted this because this is the bulk of what is going on with Super Stupid and Siggy. This scheme right here, what you see with Alex Nitchoff, a vendor that has lived in the community for a long time. Super Stupid claims she's been all her life, so she knows who Alex Nitchoff is. She gave him work. She paid him without board approval. Gave him at least 2 projects that did not go through a bidding process, nor was there any contract agreement established between the Village of Dalton and Oak Construction, and allowed him to get paid all that money against board approval. Signing checks with only her signature on it, without board approval, violating local ordinances and state law. For this particular scheme right here, this is exactly what is being precipitated from Siggy and Super Stupid with those properties, pins, and lots. They let the property taxes get so far behind to the point where it's delinquent, and they use these shell accounts, these shell companies, to purchase the tax sale, the tax debt, for a fraction of what is owed. But yet, Cook County tax assessors, the tax office don't know that somebody just bought this pen or this property a lot for a fraction of what's still owed. Because according to the tax assessor, let's say it's $10,000 they still owe. That debt is still sitting there. So intentionally allowing the tax debt to build up and become delinquent in an effort to avoid paying the actual property taxes, and then bribing the tax assessor to get tax breaks, is intentionally defrauding the government. The bribery is what they knew they can get a charge for. I think he got, I know he got charged with 2 charges. It's going to be in the other article that I have, but he got two charges, 1 count of 2 charges. And that landed him 5 years in prison. 5 years in prison. And of course, he had to collaborate with somebody at the tax assessor's office in order to facilitate that, because like I said, in the system, that tax debt is still sitting there. You owe $10,000 of tax debt on property taxes, and you went and bought some property and you only paid $5,000. Guess what has to happen? Somebody in the tax assessor's office has to fudge the numbers in the system to make it seem as if you paid off that debt, when in actuality you didn't. And this tax sale itself is set up and designed for you to acquire these properties through shell companies. There lies the fraudulent activity in that. These shell companies are specifically designed for you to purchase these properties at a fraction of the cost of what's owed for the tax debt, in conjunction with bribing and conspiring with the tax assessor. That is the scheme, the overall arching scheme that you see happening. That's what the FBI is investigating, also with regards to St. Patrick's and those 3 pens that's listed in that subpoena, which I've already gone over in detail, but you know. So I want you all to see this portion of what he went to prison for. But that landed him 5 years just for bribery and the other charge. Just so y'all can understand. Now, I'm not going to go deep down into the amount of taxes paid in it, because all of that is irrelevant. Because if they're working with somebody in the tax assessor's office, they're fudging the numbers anyway. So whether I see 10 years of, what looks like them paying the taxes off, that's not a true account of what is still actually owed if someone's in the tax office is changing the numbers in the system. That's why me going through the numbers and how much has been paid on the taxes is irrelevant, because it might not be the true actual amount of the debt that's still sitting there. Especially when they're intentionally allowing the property taxes to go into delinquency. It's intentional for them to do that. And it undercuts the taxes that's being paid. And the government does not like it when you try to avoid paying taxes. No, the hell they do not. I don't care what level of government you're talking about here. County level, state tax, federal tax. Nobody likes it when you try to avoid paying taxes. Uncle Sam is not very happy with it. Now that lands you in prison real quick. So, and then you also see in the next paragraph, Nitchoff's businesses were active in Dalton political affairs, contributing more than $8,600 over 7 years to former Mayor Riley Rogers. February of 22, they contributed $2,000 to Henyard's campaign, another $5,000 4 months later. The latter contribution occurred days after Oak first billed the village for the no bid, no contract residential construction at several dozen homes that totaled $205,000, money that the village paid out of federal COVID-19 grant money. So when you have a federal grant in place, they giving you money to take care of whatever that money is supposed to take care of, and it's specific. You should have some sort of a grant. That grant document is going to outline what this money should be used for. But if you did not establish a contract with the vendor, there was never a contract established with Oak Construction and the village of Dalton. Oak Construction should have never received a penny of that COVID-19 funding. And it's also a violation of federal laws to not have a competitive bidding process as well as contracts established when you're talking about vendors getting work from any level of government. Federal laws dictate that. Not just local ordinance or state laws, federal laws. So let's take a look at competitive bidding and some of the regulations. So every agency in our government has a set of federal regulations in place. But in order to acquire any contract work or to get grant funding from any government agency, you have to have a competitive bidding process for those grants and contracts. And here you see these federal regulations here. These are federal laws. You see the code 42 USC 2996 sub E sub A 1.A. That's the federal penal code. That's the actual code for that regulation that you guys can type in this 42 USC 2996E. It's hyperlinked to, and it'll take you straight to that code. All right. So in case y'all want to, I always encourage people to go behind me and check behind me because, the goons out there just don't want to believe what they read. So whatever. But this is here a whole regulation that according to federal law, every government agency, no matter what level of government, is supposed to have a competitive system to award grants and contracts for the delivery of any service. This is particularly dealing with an agency on legal services, but trust me, this is the same across the board. And if not, you can always Google and get a broader federal law regulation that kind of just talks about the scope of just competitive bidding for grants and contracts regarding any government agency. But everybody knows those COVID-19 funds. Let me tell you something. People are getting hemmed up. Them PPP loans, you got a lot of people still going to prison for misusing PPP loans and lying on those applications to get that funding from the government. That was COVID-19 funding. It could have went to anybody else. Could have went to other people to help pay some people's rent and mortgages that weren't able to work. And you got people out here bragging all over social media about getting PPP loans. It's got to be the dumbest shit ever. But either way, so if this competitive bidding process is not done, what happens is you end up with, and there's a reason why these laws are put into place. You have, one or two companies that end up dominating, whether it be local, state, or even federal, where they taking up all the contracts. Because here in the U.S., we're supposed to be promoting, free and fair competitive bidding process to allow companies to be able to work with the government. And when you do not have that competitive bidding process put in place, you're robbing other companies of the opportunity to be able to say, hey, I want this contract. I want the grant. I need this for my business. Because funding should not be all funneled down to one or two businesses. These laws were established because once upon a time that actually was happening in this country. And you had like 4 or 5 major Mongols that was doing all the work in with the U.S. government and getting all the contracts with the government. And it ends up being to where they taking over this whole sector and controlling this whole enterprise here. And other companies are like, listen, why we can't be able to get a slice of the American pie? Let other companies be able to thrive and get work with the government and get that work and get this revenue and help promote businesses. So that's why one of these reasons why these laws were put in place for a reason. Undercutting that process is a violation of federal law. That gets the attention of the federal government, especially when you're talking about any level of government funding being utilized for any reason. So now you all see this is federal law. It's state law, local ordinances as well that are supposed to be designed to reinforce a fair and competitive bidding process for grants and contracts. Let's take a look at that injunction. Okay, here's the injunction that I had already gone over in a previous video, so I'm just going to skim over it. You guys see the case number here, 2023, C as in cat, H as in house, 10204, that the trustees at the Village of Dalton had to file against Super Stupid for basically violating local ordinances when it came to not getting approval to grant contracts to vendors and for signing checks without the clerk's signature on it, and for unlawfully, illegally misusing the clerk's signature stamp. This is a court document where that evidence is in here. This is why she ended up agreeing to Jason House and the village clerk being listed on that Fifth Third bank account because of this injunction. Because she kept giving out contract work to these same vendors, not allowing a bidding process, no RFPs on files, requests for proposals, none of that stuff on file. No contracts made with the vendors, nothing in place that it can be used in a court of law. No documentation whatsoever. She did this by herself. This is not because of the trustees and any fault on them. This is stuff she chose to do, violating whole laws and local ordinances. So they took her ass to court. Rightfully so. So, of course, she had to get off the account. So, and you guys can see I went through previously the local ordinances, even highlighted some laws that even Illinois Municipal Code or state law of what she violated using the clerk's signature stamp, signing checks without the board approval, giving out contract work without the board approval. I don't know how much more fraudulent could you get, how much more fraudulent it gets. But no, this is not about the trustees doing anything. This is the shit she did by her damn self. This is why I keep saying that there's no way she's going to avoid the accountability and the consequences for her actions. Trustees didn't make her do this. She did this on her own. This is stuff that lands you in prison, by the way. So let's get to the end here. You guys can see additionally, clerk, he was advised by a representative of Fifth Third Bank. Y'all see this here. The banking institution used by the village, at Clerk Key's name has been removed from the village's bank account, and other individuals were added to the account, which violates Resolution 21-009. She does not get to break laws and then think, oh, I'm a mayor and I should be able to do it. No, that's not how the hell it works. And those resolutions, those ordinances are based upon state statutes. So you don't get to violate state laws on anything. It's not how that works at all. But this is what she did in court. And she knew she did it. Because there are banking documents that she filled out at Fifth Third Bank that legally is supposed to have her signature and the other signatory, which was the clerk signature on that banking document to remove either one of them off the account. She should not have been able to remove the clerk off of that bank account unless she used the clerk's signature stamp or forged her signature on that bank document. Because the other person, that's like having in everyday life, if you have a joint account with someone and you have it to where in order for either person, two people on the account, let's say you and your spouse, whether you or your spouse want to get removed off the account, you have to go into the bank. You have to fill out the document, and both signatures have to be on that document to have either person removed from the account. Super Stupid should not have been able to go into that bank and request for the clerk to be removed without the clerk's signature on that document. Whether it's a wet signature or an e-signature or some electronic signature, it should not have been processed. But the fact that she did that means she either forged the clerk's signature or fraudulently used the e-signature or her signature stamp, which she had already did when it came to putting the clerk's signature on other documents and checks. She had already been illegally misusing that signature stamp. She would have had to do either of those three things on that bank document to get the clerk removed from the bank account. It is not about whether the bank allowed her to do it. The bank should not have allowed her to do it unless they saw both signatures on that document. That is the epitome of bank fraud. You lied on documents. You unlawfully used a signature or a signature stamp, or forged a signature on a bank document to get the clerk removed and have two people added without the board's approval. And it's my understanding, because I did ask, because asking for a friend, who were the two people added, and it was theorized to be Tangent Miller and Janice Johnson. I'm not quite sure, because I didn't see it in the court documents I've read 1,000 times. But I didn't see it, so I can't say for sure that those are the two people. But either way, whoever the other individuals are were not legally authorized to be added to the account. There are state laws and local ordinances along with a resolution that specifically names Super Stupid originally and the village clerk until that agreement filed with the court now grants permission for Jason House and the village clerk to be listed as signatories on bank accounts. And then after April 1st, her ass will be gone. As a matter of fact, I don't understand why she still need to be on it. I mean, it's not like she's posting up bank statements that we're all asking for. So her really having access to an account just to get documents is futile when she's not posting those bank documents to the public. Because we've all been asking for bank statements, Super Stupid. You're not supplying it, so what's the point of you being on it? You worthless. All right, moving on. All right, here is the letter from Allison Key about, of course, her by law being on bank accounts and signing checks and warrant lists. And, of course, the statutes. You guys see the little S's there. That's a statute. That's a state statute. That's a state law. Added on here, and Illinois State Code is abbreviated as such. Well, you'll see ILCS. That's the Illinois state code. It's basically Illinois state law, and that's how it's written out. But you see in this exhibit here, look at this. Oak Construction Company, my lord. So here you see a whole invoice that's supports the article of Alex Nitchoff being granted no contract, no bidding work. This is just some of the invoicing that was done. And here's how she tried to circumvent the process. So she basically told Oak Construction, look, y'all, anything $5,000 or more, y'all gonna have to split it up to try to avoid getting the board approval on. But that's not how it works. It is the total invoice amount. See, if there were a contract in place, she wouldn't be able to do that because they would expect invoices to come in at certain amounts to cover a certain percentage of work done. That's how that's supposed to go. It's supposed to be an agreement, contract in place where it outlines the scope of the project. It gives a timeline on how long it will take, a notice to proceed, the attached RFP, any resolution with it, an award granting them, the opportunity to do the work, to do the project, how much it costs overall, break down labor, supplies, and materials. All of that is supposed to be in a contract agreement or some sort of binding agreement between the Village of Dalton and with the actual vendor. Since none of that is done, none of those documents exist. She never got an agreement or contract. She did all this stuff underhanded without the board's approval. It's hard to see or be able to say, here's what these invoices should look like as they come in. Here's the percentage of work being covered. Here's the timeline we're looking at. This is going to take 6 months or whatever. It should be like a purchase order. Should be a lot of things in place to help validate this work being given out to this contractor. But she tried to circumvent the process by having them send in invoices that did not exceed $5,000, hoping that it would not require board approval. But because that's not how it works when it comes to when you're looking at the total invoice amount for the project and what will require board approval, and because there was never a contract established, of course it raised red flags. They're like, who the hell is this vendor in the first place? You trying to get around us with this invoice for no more than $5,000. First of all, who the hell are they? When did we give it? Where's the RFP for this? When did we get a contract agreement with them? When did we approve this nonsense? So, criminals are really stupid. But this has to be the worst display of just stupidity ever. I just laugh at it and I don't even ask questions as to why she tried to do this. Who cares? But you all can see the task on there. Re-roof over one layer over existing shingles. So this is for, and these are just some of the invoices here. But this is for those roof, that project dealing with renovations and houses and stuff. And then you see this check. Look at that. Her signature here. The same signature that was on that lease for that dumbass Tahoe. Yeah, there you go. Like I said, the FBI is going to have a way to get her signature to do an analysis and compare the two. But there you go. They're definitely going to use other documents where she has a whole either wet signature. Most times it's a wet signature because these signatures can be a little skewed. But they'll just have her come in and sign something. And just go from there. To sign your name on these documents because they want to be able to do an analysis to make sure they can truly say this is your signature. She can't deny it's not hers. I mean, who the hell gonna do this? Only she would do something this dumb to sign a check with no contract agreement, no bidding, no RFP with a vendor whose owner of this company is now in prison for 5 years. Oh, it's epic. It's epic. But yep, these are the checks here. She took a risk and gander in signing and oh Lord. Forest Park National Bank. That's Oak Construction Company's bank. Look at this. $5,000. It's $12,000. What good is breaking up the amounts doing? When the total invoice so far of what I've seen in this exhibit is $12,000. That's still more than $5,000. But the article showed $205,000. So yes, that should have gone through the board for approval. Because they have to approve the overall cost of the project as a whole. Not you breaking it down in 18 different invoices. How many other invoices she did this nonsense with? That had to be the dumbest move ever, girl. Why don't you post up them bank statements? And name the other 2 people you added to that account. Because, I'm just asking for a friend. All right. So here you go. Here's the evidence here. These are exhibits that was attached with the court documents that landed in court. The Exhibit G with that case. You guys can look up that case. I showed you the case number already. 2023 CH10204. You're welcome. So here is a court case that kind of gives some background on the car wash. That car wash apartment living that Siggy and Super Stupid is allegedly staying at. Yes. So this is a 2024 appeal It's filed from the defendant, Ahmad Al-Kilani, against AAA Group Contractors, Inc., Illinois company with Basel Alshwaite and Abed. I'm not going to try to say his whole first name because I don't want to mess it up. Alshwaite. And they went to court. And there was a default judgment awarded to the petitioners for work that was done basically to build that car wash between the group contractors, the AAA group contractors. They couldn't even try to be creative with the name. I mean, seriously? Come on now. And originally, Kamal Woods, y'all see in the background at the bottom, Kamal Woods, a.k.a. Siggy, and Ahmad Al-Kilani. I want y'all to see here at the bottom. So when you're looking at these summaries here, I mean, you can look at the entire docket, but I don't even see the whole docket. I just look at the overview. Gives me the order of what the ruling was from the appellate court judges. They basically upheld a reversal, order on a reversal of the circuit court's denial of the defendant's petition to vacate default judgment. And they give the reasons why. And then, of course, they give some background facts of the case at hand here. And you can see October 27, 21, AAA Group Contractors. I'm at the bottom, y'all. And you guys can Google this information, look it up. It's public information. It's not some secret spot stuff I just got from somebody. No, I just Googled. Basel Alshwaite and Abed Alshwaite, collectively the plaintiffs, filed a 2-count complaint against Ahmad Al-Kilani and Kamal Woods as the defendants in the original case. Their complaint, the plaintiffs alleged that Al-Kilani breached an oral agreement to construct a car wash and entered into a separate agreement with Woods to operate the car wash and excluded the plaintiffs from any monies due for their initial construction work. So basically, somebody decided it was a good idea to have an oral agreement established with Siggy. And we all have seen his nonsensical chatter and bam, 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 bam crap that he's delivered in that Tommy G video. He says a whole lot and still says nothing of substance. Okay? Because Siggy has no brain. So somebody decided to enter into an oral agreement with that clown and do $176,000 worth of work building that car wash. So I wanted to go through this so you all can see the background and the information that connects Siggy to that car wash. He was originally one of the owners of it. After it was constructed by AAA, and you guys see the address here, 132 through 136 East Sibley Boulevard. And this is going back to 2017. There got to be a reason why Siggy decided to try to make super stupid his girlfriend. You know, stuff like this. When you look at the year in 2017, it's 2025. She the one that went in that dumbass radio station talking about, not the radio station being dumb. The lady, the chicken head Barney, she was talking to. And ratted out how long they've been together. 4 years, right? 4 years it was? Yeah, okay. So the 4 years, this would supersede the 4 years. This is going back to October 2017. Where Siggy entered a Kamal, with an oral agreement with Al-Kilani, Kamal, to build that car wash at the same address. And that Al-Kilani would pay $176,000. The parties further agreed in the alternative to payment that at plaintiff's sole option, the Alshwaites would become equal partners with Al-Kilani in the property and car wash business. Construction on the property was completed in October 2020, so it took 3 years, after which Al-Kilani failed to pay the plaintiffs. So Al-Kilani just swindled the whole construction company that built it after 3 years. Basil and Abed then exercised their option to become equal partners. Al-Kilani refused and instead agreed with Woods. So Al-Kilani now going into an agreement with Siggy to operate the car wash and split the profits between themselves but represented to plaintiffs that he leased the car wash to Woods with 1 year of free rent. Did y'all cash in that 1 year free rent? Is that what y'all doing now? This is why I laugh at when she try to sit here and lie about stuff. How is it difficult to believe that they're actually living there? He got a deal that he would be listed as the leasee and had 1 year free rent thrown in the agreement. It's not hard to believe they might be living there. This is funny. So clearly, Alkaline thought, you know what? I'm not going to pay $176,000 to the people that built it. No, I'm going to go over here and make a sideline hustle deal with Siggy, of all people, who doesn't say anything of substance, and let him be part owner. But we going to lie to the contractors, the people that built it, and say, I'm leasing it to you and I gave you 1 year free rent. When in actuality, they were co-owners and they were splitting the profits of the car wash. Talking about underhanded nonsense. And one thing that this AAA contractors, I hope y'all learned y'all lesson. Don't enter oral agreements with no damn body. What reputable company does that anyway? Come on now. Now y'all got that wrong, but I'm just saying it's not smart to enter an oral agreement, especially with somebody like Siggy. That is the last Negro on earth you want to enter a oral agreement with. Taboo. And I said Negroid. I said Negroid. But yeah, either way, take it how you want. I don't care. That's the last person on earth you want to have an oral agreement with. With his jacked up teeth. Siggy, you sat here and swindled these people out. I'm surprised they ain't did something to get your attention by now. But whatever. We don't promote violence, people. We don't do that. Nope. Prison is going to be a good eye-opening for you anyway. I mean, because at this rate, that's where you belong. This is where you belong. So the court ordered, the circuit court ordered the default judgment against Alkalani in the amount of $176,500 in compensatory damages and $250,000 in punitive damages. That's like, oh, I missed a lot of work. It's 3 years. I mean, it took 3 years. You know, we could have been doing other things. Now we sitting here building a car wash. Plus, you know, the mental and emotional distress. I had to pay people to help me out. Like, it's only natural that you're going to ask for punitive damages. So, of course, Alkalani didn't like the judgment against him. I guess Siggy thought, you know what? I don't even care. It was all an oral agreement anyway. Didn't stop the court from entering that judgment, Siggy. It didn't stop. But you guys can see that the defendant never filed a motion within the proper time frame when it came down to the court issuing the judgment, the default judgment. And naturally, Siggy is not even included in the appeal. Y'all see at the top here, it's just Ahmad Alkalani. It's not even Siggy. He didn't want to be named in this appeal. I wonder why. Siggy, why you didn't want to? I mean, you still using the property. Obviously, you living there. You and Super, y'all living there. Y'all exercising that 1 year free rent. Why you didn't file the appeal? Obviously, he agreed with the default judgment. So whatever. So this just to give some background information. This is just kind of the summary here. You see background facts of the case. They cited some case law and they got jurisdiction on here basically saying that it went to the proper court based on the address of either the defendant's residence or even the property and the subject property or the petitioner's address. So it's going to go to the proper court based on, most times, based on where you live. All right. And then you have some analysis here. They're basically just citing laws and case law to kind of substantiate, you know, similar situations like this in other cases and how the law was interpreted and utilized. So this is a good read. And then, of course, the conclusion, they, you know, for all the above reasons, for all the legal reasons they noted in the analysis and based on the background information, you know, they concluded that they're going to reverse the judgment of the circuit court vacate the default judgment order that was entered April 12th, 22, and remand for further proceedings consistent with this order. So, the defendant got lucky. He got lucky. I just find it peculiar that Siggy is not listed in this appeal as well because, this is for Alkalani to have this thing reversed for him. So who knows how that's gonna play out with Siggy, but whatever. I guess he think he's just gonna get away with it. Good luck to that. So I know you guys are wondering why you going through all this Lady Luck Club. I'm getting there. So in my research, I looked up, just to see who's the current owner. And as you all can see, it's not listed for sale. So that means that I should not see this property listed for a tax sale either. Okay? Let's not forget the whole premise from Alex Nitchoff, where there was an intentional permitting of a property tax to go into delinquency to acquire the property through a tax sale, or to acquire the tax debt through a tax sale and undercut the tax debt. So I want y'all to keep that in mind. I just want to show you all the ownership history here. And, you can see, once again, confirm the address. Talking about 132 to 136 Sibley Boulevard. And you guys can see here at the bottom. Starting with April 2015, owner was Kimberly Plaza, LLC. And I'm going to show you all who the owner of that company is in a second. Over to Osama Shwait. I'm wondering if that was Abed Al-Shwait and he just spelled his last name differently. I'm assuming it is. It's spelled a little differently for a reason. Because think about it. If you got these companies that are shell companies being established by the same owners, sometimes if they're not doing things if they're doing things they're not supposed to be doing, they're not doing it the right way. Especially if you're talking about acquiring these properties and paying a lots through these tax sales, and you're trying to get tax breaks and avoid paying the full tax debt to get a profit out of it. You might not want that to be listed under your real name. And this is one of the reasons why they set up these shell companies. So, Kimberly Plaza LLC. Shell company or no? You let me know what you think in the damn comment section. My theory is it's a shell company. One of many. But that's my theory. But either way, you see how it exchanged hands and when it did. So it went from Kimberly Plaza LLC to and bought by, y'all see that here, Osama Shwait and Kimberly Plaza, meaning that somehow he acquired it with Kimberly Plaza LLC. More than likely, the owner of Kimberly Plaza added him as a co-owner of that property. And then it just changes hands over to on October 16, 2017 to Osama Ishwait and Ahmad Akalani that we just saw in that court document with the appeal. That's the same defendant that took that AAA group contractors, another weird ass company name that sounds like another, in my theory and opinion, a shell company. Because it's so mundane. AAA group contractors corporate. Like Kimberly Plaza LLC. Just random weird names of companies that don't make sense. But you understand the pattern that's being shown here. Same thing with Alex Nitchoff. These shell companies transferring over these properties and undercutting the taxes that's owed on it. At the very least in this situation, the AAA group contractors built the car wash, but for dirt cheap, $176,000. And then to go through all that nonsense with an oral agreement that should have been in writing. Good grief. Why was that not in writing? Yeah, whatever. But the oral agreement with Siggy of all people and is Ahmad Al-Kalani. Look at this. And then he changed hands as a private individual owner. Once again. In 2018. The car wash was built and finished. It started construction started 2017 according to the appellate document and was done in 2020. So now look. So just so y'all can see the history of the ownership, as I promised, fun fact. All right, the owner, Kimberly Plaza LLC, it's an Illinois LLC that was active as of February of 2014. And the registered agent on file is Issa Zayad. And of course, they have his information. They also have Muhammad Zayad as a point of contact for this company that's been in place for a good 11 years. And of course, you guys can go on. I tried to look this up on the Better Business Bureau website, but I didn't see anything there. It could be registered with a business license or LLC and not be registered with the Better Business Bureau. But sometimes I just go there, just try to get some extra information on a company if I'm looking up one. And then, of course, never wrong with reading some ratings about it, because people go over there, man, they get mad enough, they're going to file them complaints either way. But I think it's a good thing for companies to be registered with the BBB, but that's my opinion. But you guys can see who the owner is. So, all right, moving on. Now, here's the article on Alex Nitchoff and his bribery scheme of the Cook County assessor that was also implicated and sentenced to the former alderman. His father, I guess, was connected to the former alderman, Kerry Austin. Sentenced to of course, Alex Nitchoff was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison for bribery. Bribing an employee of Cook County Assessor's Office to reduce taxes on his properties by $1 million. Alex Nitchoff pleaded guilty early this year to one count of, and here's his charges here. Here are the charges. One count of, and I pulled this up because the charges was listed here. It wasn't in the other article. I don't know why. But one count of conspiracy to bribe a public official and using a facility in interstate commerce to facilitate the acts of bribery. And one has to assume that the facility used in the interstate commerce to facilitate the acts of bribery, it's one of those facilities he probably acquired by bribing the tax assessor to get those property tax breaks and undercutting the tax debt owed. This is another reason why the FBI could be looking into all the hands that St. Patrick's was passed through, including those PIN numbers. Because if there is any evidence that point towards that particular property being used to facilitate any acts of bribery whatsoever, now you have this subject property that could quite possibly be repossessed. Quite possibly. Not saying for sure, but I'm just going based on what's in the subpoena and the full, like the bribery scheme as a whole that you see in the Alex Nitchoff case, almost being mirrored in what's going on with St. Patrick's. There's a reason why they want to know the use of that property before it was sold to the owners of St. Patrick's. And I can guarantee you that's one of the reasons they want to know, was this property used as some hub to facilitate these crimes, to facilitate bribery? And it's specifically requested in that subpoena, the use of the property itself. So as you all can see, these are the two charges he received. Doesn't say it's not murk. It's not a murk. It's my abbreviation of murder. It's not murk. But as you can see, it's a federal offense. Even just utilizing the facility. Most people read these charges and be like, it's not that serious. They are. They are. Because this is what many people are, many of you are starting to kind of recognize to be a foundation of what's considered to be RICO. When you have a whole criminal enterprise, you're going to have properties and locations utilized to facilitate those federal crimes, those federal offenses. You have racketeering, you have, selling of, illegal substances. Anytime you're talking about RICO overall, there's always some connection to some central hub or some, headquarter or hideout place, however it's termed. Some property, a lot being used for these crimes to be facilitated through. So these two charges, he got one count of each, gave him 5 years in prison. Now, we can all use our good judgment and logic in this. You add on these two charges, let's just say hypothetically, Super Stupid gets these two charges. Add on bank fraud, because she had the village clerk removed illegally by forging documents or unlawfully using her signature, the village clerk's signature stamp, which is still forgery. It's still forgery. You're just using a stamp to facilitate the forgery. You're not signing it with a pen, but it's still an official signature stamp. That's still forgery. And you forge bank documents in an effort to get the bank to do something that would be illegal or unlawful, a violation of bank regulations, as well as the local ordinances and resolutions that were violated. Now you're talking about fraud. And you have the intent to defraud by forging this document to get somebody off an account. You didn't have the right to do that, Super Stupid. You're doing dumb things that's so obvious, and you're risking more of your liberty and freedom. I don't think you really care at this point, but more of your liberty and freedom is going to be put in question. So I want you all to see the similarities in some of the charges in the case with Alice Nitchoff to help understand what the FBI is looking at in their investigation, part of their scope in those subpoenas regarding the property for the St. Patrick's and the pins. And trust me, that's not the only property. Oh no, it's not the only property. I'm going to tell you right now, because the first set of subpoenas that were served had a lot of other companies, a lot of other individuals' names, and a lot of other documents they wanted regarding any acquisition of properties or ownerships, businesses, use of those properties. Yeah, they want it all. Okay? This is how they connect some of these dots here. Now, I'm just reading. I'm just a peasant reading this stuff, trying to make sense of it and explain it, help you all understand some of the things based on how I'm understanding it and based on the evidence that already exists. But if you look at this case here, you're going to see very similar, if not the same types of conduct being done between Siggy and Super Stupid and what they're being investigated for. No, they may not be the only two named, but when you start walking around here talking about I'm the boss and I got the power and da. Yeah, okay. You get penalized like the boss and you got all the power too. Because now more of that accountability shifts up to you. But, since you never learned to shut the hell up, whatever. So, prosecutors had asked for more than 7 years behind bars, saying that Nitchoff's brazen and egregious conduct was an affront to the Cook County residents who deal honestly with the burden of property taxes. They pay up or fight through appeals. And then, of course, they are basically stating that the defendant kept at least $1 million in his family coffers and away from the public treasury by allowing the property taxes to go delinquent. I mean, he owed hundreds of thousands of dollars in property taxes and was trying to circumvent that. And then tried to, of course, bribe the tax assessors, basically, like, I need you to go in the system. I need some tax breaks so that I can bring down that tax debt. They're not changing the number of how much is owed. They're adding tax breaks to bring down the amount that's owed. If that makes sense. So they're not going to go in and just manually change. Oh, you owe $10,000. I'm going to change it to an 8. No. What they were doing was, okay, $10,000 is owed on this property. Let's put all these damn tax breaks in here to bring down the overall tax debt itself. They when I say changing the numbers, they're going in and adding in these tax breaks. Because these tax breaks in normal situations probably wouldn't exist. Normally, anyone else that owned these properties would not have gotten these tax breaks like this. So for him to bribe a tax assessor to give all these tax breaks to bring down the tax debt is how you're seeing these tax amounts, which I'm going to show shortly, regarding other properties. But you can see why it was like 2,000 or 3,000 when it should have probably been 8,000 to 10,000. So we're going to get to that in a minute, but this is what I want you guys to keep in mind when you're trying to understand this. Don't get lost in the melee. I had to do an overall view of this because me diving into how much taxes paid every year on either the car wash or the St. Patrick's thing, to me, it doesn't mean much when at the end of the day, tax breaks were put into the system to lower the tax debt, to change the amount of taxes owed. So if you take out the tax breaks, then you probably see the true amount that's owed. And because that information, was manipulated, that data was manipulated, they can show on the system, you go in it to see, oh, okay, well, as opposed to reflecting 10,000, it's reflecting 3,000 or 5,000. Because of the tax breaks. Take away the tax breaks, you end up with the true amount. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, moving on. And you guys can take time to read this article as well. This is with the Chicago Tribune. A lot of stuff I just, wanted to kind of touch on a couple things just to kind of bring the point home. But as you all can see, he just messed up all the way around. This is why people say criminals are stupid. Like, come on, man. Then he goes over to the village of Dalton, getting $205. This is the same owner of that old construction. Goes over to the village of Dalton and gets this $205,000 worth of work for renovation on windows and roofs and all this other nonsense. And super trying to, basically violating federal laws with no bid, no contracts, no RFPs, no nothing, no approval from a board. And for what? You have to be logical and say to yourself, there had to be some kickback involved in that whole scheme altogether. The fact that she benefited through a kickback, quite possibly, will at least get her a conspiracy charge in and of itself. You literally broke your neck and for what? $206,000? This man is going to prison for 5 years just for bribery and using a facility in interstate commerce to facilitate the act of bribery. What the hell you think you got? This is why I told people, I said, this girl going to be in prison for at least 10, 15 years. I don't even think it matters what deal is made. Because even in this case, they wanted him to go for more than 7 years. So when they filed the indictment and they went to court and had the trial hearing and everything, the prosecutors were pushing for more than 7 years in prison. So for him to get 5, obviously it's an indication that some plea deal was worked out. But it still involved him going to prison for 5 years. What the hell do you think you're facing, super stupid? You and Siggy. Your weird ass relatives. Handing out flyers and weird stuff. All right, we're back to the car wash. Working at the car wash. All righty. So now y'all can see the property tax overview. You can go on the Cook County Tax Assessor website, I think, or the Treasury website. As you all can see. Whoo, child. Look at how much taxes is owed. But if you look at the property value of $101,000, yeah, you can imagine if somebody's trying to pull a stunt because they want to get a profit off of this, what they would do is exactly what Alice Nitchoff did by allowing a delinquency to grow on the taxes. Use one of those shell companies to purchase the property and the pins. There's some little pins that's associated with this. And then undercut the property taxes. And then in an effort to get a profit, maybe try to resell it. And now when you resell it, you're reselling it for the property value. See how being dirty and dumb is just going to get you in trouble all the way around, Siggy? You see why I keep saying to go cooperate and turn your ass into the FBI? You see why I keep saying this? Because you don't think the FBI is making these connections? Come on now. Come on. I ain't even pulled up the stuff on St. Patrick's because it's going to be the same process. The process is what I want y'all to understand. So the process is the same. Well, we're talking about the car wash and 3 pins related to the car wash, or St. Patrick's and those 3 pins related to that. Same thing. The FBI wants all the properties. I mean, his name. He keep getting named in subpoenas. Siggy. So yeah, he was once part owner of this car wash. And the latest subpoena, they want to know any other businesses you've had in your name. Here you go, FBI. You're welcome. I'm sure you already knew that. Look at this tax debt. $17,623.18. This is tax year 2023, billed in 2024. And you guys can see here, oh man, you owe a lot of money. This is the tax years here. I'm just kind of scrolling through. You guys can look this up as well, but you all can see that there were no exemptions on this between 2019 and 2023. You all see up here at the top. Have you seen your exemptions in these tax years? No exemptions. So for this property to be valued at, and honestly, it's lower than what it was, the cost that it was, the cost spent to build it. Because the appellate documents, this was the property that was in the appellate documents with Akalani and Siggy. They charged $176,000. The valuation is only $101,000. Even if AAA did get the property back, hypothetically, because it still belongs to that issuate. That was the reason why I went through the property owners. Based on that information under the ownership of that issuate guy. But let's say he decided he wanted to sell it or something. He wouldn't even make a profit on this. He would have to take a hit. Because it costs $176,000 to construct. And the value of it so far is only at $101,000. So you have to take a hit, right? Well, how do you avoid taking a hit? Okay, let me undercut. See, taxes do determine the valuation of the property. Taxes goes delinquent, gets to a point where, the government is like, listen, we want to collect something off this. Even though if they want to make a deal with someone, with a seller, with a buyer for a property, they can do that. But they're going to have some agreements in place in writing too. Do it the right way. If they decide to do a payoff or a negotiation for selling property that they own, that they just want to get off the books, they have the right to do it. What no one has the right to do is to allow taxes that deliberately and intentionally go delinquent, go have a bribe set up with somebody at the tax office, or to try to get valuations fluctuated up higher by going through these weird ass appeals. That's another way to get up the value of it. So you get somebody from the tax office that's willing to sit here and do dumb things, and then they go out, inspect, and do an assessment. And then you don't like what they said the first time, so you put it in appeal to get somebody else to come out, and hopefully it's somebody you like and that likes you back. And then they decide to say, you know what? Valuation is like $250,000 when it's really not. But what they don't factor in is the tax debt that still sits on this property that could be bringing down the value of the property. You can't say that something is valued at $100,000 if you owe taxes that's $150,000. Can't be more valuable than the debt that's against the same property. So that does determine the valuation of the property or the lot or the pen or however. Your property taxes on it, it's going to bring down the value. But if you get somebody to say, well, you know what, I came out, did an assessment, they may not be licensed, certified, or credentialed, but they do something where it's in writing now to give the appearance that this value of this property is much higher than what it really is. There lies the bribe. There lies the scheme to defraud. So now you're lying all over the place. So, yep. So we all can see there's a tax bill connected to this car wash. So I decided to look at the assessor's office, and there are 3 pins associated with the car wash itself. And we're going to go through these pins, right? So you all can see what Lady Luck is talking about with valuations and this so-called appeal process here. So you guys can see that there was an assessor done on the first, this is the first pin. The pins represent kind of like a piece of lot or piece of land, right? And these 3 pins, of course, are not the same square footage, so it's not the same piece of land, or at least not supposed to be. And there's, of course, a different valuation based on any behind past tax debt, the use of the property, square footage, all those things factor into a valuation. So you guys can see here the square footage for this first pen, 3,076 square feet. And this is the pens, which is the piece of land around the car wash. Okay. Now, take a look at this. Appeal done in 2024. And you guys see the attorney tax rep here, Ellen Berkshire. I didn't go that deep to figure out who she is. I'm sure if the FBI, anybody is doing some reporting research on this, want to figure out who she is, go ahead and do it. But for the purposes of what I'm going over in my video is more so to show the whole scheme related to what Alex Nitchoff did. And here's one of the ways you end up getting, the whole bribery thing comes into play now. You get an assessor come out, they evaluate the pen, this piece of land. It has its own PIN number associated with it. And then they say, here's how much we believe that is valued at. Just how much we think it's worth. $5,614. Let's say you say, you know what? I don't like that number. Or, I don't like that assessor. I'm going to file an appeal. And then have somebody else come out. Now, it could be one of 2 things. You're really trying to get someone to help you fudge this valuation number. Or let's say if it was legitimately an issue with the valuation, you should have some evidence, documentation in place to dispute why you believe the valuation is actually higher. Because nobody wants it to be lower in appeal, right? But now you want to say, hey, y'all made a mistake on this. Here's what I have documents to prove there needs to be an appeal. And hopefully it's sufficient enough to show that this value is actually much higher. But, criminals are stupid. They don't think along those lines. So let's just say it was just for the sake of getting someone else to come out. Now, if you got somebody that's in your pocket at Cook County Tax Assessor's Office, they're going to come out. They're going to do another assessment, just like the bribery scheme with Alex Nitchoff with the Tax Assessor's Office. And they're going to say, okay, we reviewed it again. Now this time it's not $5,614. Now it's $8,250. Now guess what? You just now been able to be put in a position to be able to either resell it and get some sort of profit off of that sale. The fraudulent nature of that is you're not disclosing to the buyer there's a huge ass tax debt, or this property was used to facilitate a bribery scheme. when you're selling it. So this is the same thing I said about the owners with St. Patrick's. They may not even be aware this was going on. And I hope for their sake, they truly did not know. But I think I would look at something. If I'm buying some property here, I'm going to go on the website and look at the tax assessors and see what the value of the property is. I'm going to make sure that there's no past due debt owed on the property. And if need be, if I still acquire the property, I'm going to have someone else out to do a valuation again to make sure everything's legitimate with it. Based on the court documents, which I covered in one of my previous videos, Siggy sold St. Patrick's to the owners for $200,000. And I read the court documents on that. So that's in court documents. And now that property has a $2-3 million restaurant sitting on it. Of course he's pissed. Say, oh man, y'all turned this to a multi-million-dollar investment. I sold it for $200,000. Yeah, you did. Question is, did you have the authority to sell it? Did you disclose the fact that it may have had a pass-through tax debt? Was there any so-called facilitation of bribes or other fraudulent activity that occurred at this property? And someone like Siggy, he's not going to tell anybody that. Because, you know, criminals do dumb things. Of course, they're not going to tell on themselves. But see, that's where the FBI comes in and starts looking at this stuff. So, trust me when I say they did reach out to Super Stupid, because she lied like hell in that Tommy G video. They also reached out to the owners. They also want to talk with them. They also want to know, were you aware? What did you know when you acquired it? Like I said, I'm not accusing them of anything. I truly hope that they were not aware and they get ahead of this and fully cooperate. Because I damn sure if I were them, would not allow Super Stupid and Siggy to pull me down that hole. They dug for themselves doing this nonsense. And this is what, that's for St. Patrick's. And he did that with St. Patrick's. He also was part owner of the car wash. There was a whole default judgment issued against him and the other defendant, Alkalani, to pay $106,500. And of course, the compensatory damages for $250,000. Now, even though it's gone through the appellate process, they vacated the motion to deny the defendant's motion to vacate the judgment. They reversed that ruling, so it still does not eliminate the fact that the contractors are still owed that money. And even if they go through the appellate hearing with Alkalani, Siggy is not listed on that appeal. And he wasn't smart enough to be. It just don't make sense. You see an appeal going through here. At the very least, you would want to at least try to keep fighting, not to have to be stuck paying, $176 plus $250,000 here. But if you were ordered to pay that money today, maybe he could pay it, maybe not, because he don't want to keep bragging about how he can go out and make millions of dollars. Oh, okay, good, cool. Glad you said that in a whole ass video. Well, you guys see here this appeal on a pen, property index number, 3,000 square foot. Yep, okay. Here's the second pen. You guys see another appeal that was done, valuation $25,277, and this is for 3,063 square feet. And this is the third pen. Of course, the square footage is 6,104, and the valuation is $47,000. Another appeal on the third pen. It's like they just, screaming, "Look at me, FBI, look at me." Because who does this normally? I don't agree with it. Oh, okay. Well, what do you have? I think laws need to be passed in Illinois and in many states to keep this appellate process from being abused, because it doesn't make sense. If you don't have any evidence to show why the valuation should go up, all three of these pens, the valuation did not change from the original assessment until the end of the appeal assessment. They didn't change the valuation. But to can do this repetitively with all three pens, it's fishy in and of itself. Because on average, unless you have something to show why the valuation should be higher, who's going to just do this every time, like ask for an appeal? You do an assessment. You're going to keep asking for an appeal. I mean, dealing with Siggy, I probably would double check it, but it would definitely be because I don't trust his ass, not because I'm just trying to get somebody to come out and increase the value or something just for reasons because I'm stealing money or whatever. I'm not going to do something like that. If I know I'm getting these pens and properties at a deal with the tax thing, why would you want to keep bringing attention to yourself with this? With all these damn appeals. Yeah, okay. All right, moving on. So I got an email because I just love the LLC supporters. I love you guys so much. So many of you send me emails and information. And sometimes I might not get to it right away. But trust me when I tell you, it does not go unnoticed. And I had a supporter. I don't know if I can say his name. I should have asked him if I could say his name. I'll go back and ask if I can say their name and then put in the comments or the description to give a shout out. But I was emailed some information and it was like, maybe you might want to take a look at this. And I started reading and researching and looking up stuff. And what I see here, I see Super Stupid got some properties in her name. That LLC supporter, you came through, bro. Good stuff. Yeah. And trust me, I believe in vetting the information and reading and researching to try to make sure things kind of substantiate the other. Just not pulling up something and then not have anything to kind of validate it. And, that way you have at least 2-3 pieces of good evidence to support it. Yeah. So this is a property in the name of Super Stupid. And I'm curious to know why the assessed value says NA as of 2023. I'm just curious. See, there's a reason why Super Stupid and even Cornmeal walking around here talking about houses. Every time you look up, they talking about getting houses, getting property, cutting a tree. Just so they can pay vendors with a no bid, no contract, verbal oral agreement for some nonsense that would not fly in court. Case in point, it's not flying in court. But I appreciate my LLC supporter. Thank you so much. So this is the address 215 Riverside Drive. $4,000.21 was the purchase price. The taxes, $2,503. Why is the assessed value NA? And I'm going to tell y'all right now, like I said, the scope of my video was not to try to dive into all the money, but I'll let you all have some fun doing that little homework to see what the assessed value is for this property and how much taxes is paid on it. But hold your horses. I got another one. They sent me another one. They sent me like 2 or 3 good ones. Well. Super Stupid. What you doing? Here is another property in her name. At 14627 South State Street. Yeah. What you doing? I don't understand. Here's the PIN number. Yeah, I don't care about the address or any of that. I'm looking at the taxes on this. Yeah. Let's look at the transaction type, if we must. Because to me, that was just a little weird, right? Currently, the amount due on this property for tax year 24, that was just built this year recently, is $2,837. Okay? My question is, why is the transaction type up here taxpayer buyer's subsequent payment? And then the second transaction type, treasurer office. Are you kidding? So I looked up the first one. Yeah, you guys can see here too. There is a homeowner exemption from 2019 to 2023. And you look at the top up there. Are there any overpayments on your pen? $17 refund. Question is, what type of transaction type is taxpayer subsequent payment or treasurer office? Did the treasurer's office just, what they do? That's a transaction type? It's just a little weird to me. It's not something I would expect to see as a transaction type. But as you all can see, the property value is $110,990. And from tax year 2004 to 2023, you can see the difference of it being a little over $1,300. This homeowner exemption, though, is something else. Do you live in this house, or is this being rented, or what? Because she's not good with getting agreements in place. And once upon a time, she was a slumlord. But I'm wondering, did you personally pay any taxes on this house? It's just food for thought. But here's another property, though, in her name. Here's some information on that subsequent tax electronic payment. I did Google a treasurer's office being a transaction type, and I didn't get the information that I guess based on what I was trying to research. It was giving me all kinds of other results. So you guys let me know if that's normal to see a transaction type as treasurer's office. But this subsequent tax electronic payment system known as STEPS, I got this from the Cook County Treasurer's Office website. And it's the annual tax sale buyers way to be able to make an electronic payment for purchase pins or those property index numbers for their tax buyer record file through that STEPS payment system. And they are submitted online via an ACH debit. I'm still curious as to why Treasurer's Office, though, is listed as a transaction type. So, of course, taxpayer buyers are able to retrieve the list of eligible pins by annual tax sale year, volume, number, range, and subsequent taxes, along with other associated fees. System will provide pins eligible for payment if they have a balance due and have not been redeemed. Tax buyers may submit multiple daily transactions with no daily transaction limit. Do you really want that to happen? It's just, I know they want their money, but my goodness. You really want to allow someone to just make payments all day on something like this? How do you catch the red flags is my question. But this is information here about the steps. So after I did my reading and research until my brain was fritzed, I looked up just for the hell of it, because this company called Aisha Properties Inc. was listed and named in the FBI subpoena that was issued last year. So, of course, this is super stupid little company. My question is, was she using Aisha Properties Inc. as one of those supposed shell companies to acquire those pins and properties and houses and stuff? Because so far, I've been sent two houses, two addresses with your name on it. Were those acquired through Aisha Properties Inc.? That's a good question. But yet, as you all can see, this Aisha Properties was dissolved back on July 8th of 22. If I stand corrected, those houses were acquired. Hold on. So I went to the assessor's website again, put in the PIN, and here's what I found. So this home's got square footage of 9,310. Y'all see the address there, same address, the PIN number with it, 14627 State Street. Then it gets interesting down here. There was a valuation done, but the appeals were not filed after 2019. But she, based on the appeal process down here at the bottom, you guys can see, she acquired this home in 2014. There was an assessment done. Previous applicant was Steve M. Zakic. Something to that extent. But you can see here, appeals done 2013. Of course, under her name, you see applicant there. 2014. Previous board certified $7,353. Assessed evaluation $7,706. Y'all see these numbers starting to change up. 2015, it stayed the same. So, case in point, she acquired this property before the dissolution of Aisha Properties, Inc. That was dissolved 2022. She got this 2014, based on the appeal process here. And you see, of course, 2017, numbers changed a little bit. 6080, and then went up to 6223, 6623, and then, of course, 2019. That was the last time the appeal was done. Total assessed value, land assessed value, of course, building assessed value, total estimated market value, $111,000. This is as of 2024. So, the question still stands. Was this acquired through that Aisha Properties, Inc. that's now listed in the FBI subpoena and dissolved? You know, because I'm asking for a friend. So, being that it is dissolved and was first incorporated in 2007, I can just assume that she acquired these properties, the two I just showed, through Aisha Properties, Inc. Because if it's dissolved back in 2022, why else would it land in an FBI subpoena that was issued in 2024? Subpoena was served last year with Aisha Properties, Inc. listed in that subpoena from the FBI. And just now, remember now, she started in 2007. It was dissolved July 2022. And still comes up in a subpoena issued in 2024. So this is one of the reasons why the FBI would want to know what's going on. Where anything was acquired through this Aisha Properties, Inc. is dissolved. I'm curious to know why, but I'm sure it may have been just money or something. I don't know, because we all know she's not trying to do things right. Hell no. But now you understand it raises some questions up as to something that's dissolved 2 years prior to the FBI naming Aisha Properties, Inc. in a subpoena. Has all kinds of red flags going all over the place. You know, and I'm here for it. I laughed at this because I was like, wow, 2 years after it dissolved, it still lands. The FBI still want to know what the hell going on. You know, can you blame them? Super Stupid is just the con artist that she is. Act like she don't know how to, you know, recognize a crime when she sees it. And she has no problem upholding the law at all when she willfully violates ordinances, resolutions, state laws, and federal regulations on many, many things. So, that's my theory, and I'm just going to assume that she got some of these properties through Aisha Inc. as this so-called company that is somehow ironically dissolved all of a sudden. Yep. Okay. Then I came across this information. This was a electronic application. And as you see all at the top, application for reinstatement of domestic and foreign corporations. This was filed back on July 12th of 2021. And then it dissolved again July 8th of 2022. Question. Why was this dissolved the first time? Y'all see the file number, fee, name here. Aisha Properties, Inc. Corporate name as of date issuance of certificate of dissolution or revocation. And the date of certificate was July 8th of 2016. So it's based on the document here. This is for a reinstatement. Seems that the Aisha Properties thing was dissolved 2016, went filed for reinstatement 2021, and then it was dissolved again in 2022, and now it's named in the 2024 subpoena. You can't make this up if you wanted to, y'all. This had me reading, reporting. Look, well, not reporting because I hadn't done a video in a week. This had me reading everything, Googling, researching stuff for almost a week in between working and being a parent. But this is it. This is how, you know, some of these things can just, it's almost like an arrow pointing to the next step here. It's just, because like I said, it's the properties that, you know, one of my fantastic supporters sent over to me, you know, somehow being in her name all of a sudden, because it's not stuff she talk about. And anything she choose not to talk about, yeah, you should be asking a lot of questions on. I don't trust you at all, little girl. But to see these properties sitting in her name, knowing that one of the vendors, Alex Nitchoff, went to prison for 5 years for this whole bribery scheme with taxes on properties going delinquent and being purchased through shell companies. And for this Aisha Properties Inc. to be dissolved twice, 2016 and 2022. Makes you wonder, one, why did she file for a reinstatement in the same year she became mayor? And then turn around and let it be dissolved the following year, July 8th of 2022. See that, you know, come on now. Some of this stuff is just, man, you can't make this up. This stuff almost connects itself together. Just a matter of Googling the information. It's just a matter of doing a Google search and reading. So y'all see her name listed here as the registered agent. Had her address on here, all the stuff. I'm not gonna read it out loud, but either way, y'all can look this up. This is public information, by the way. This is a matter of reporting on this whole, you know, obvious tax scheme to avoid paying taxes, but yet and still, you know, because a transaction type of treasurer's office somehow makes sense. No, it doesn't. But yet and still, all these appeals for these lots and land and properties and car wash and St. Patrick's, all this, these houses, all this stuff makes you wonder if they were acquired through Aisha Properties. Dissolved twice? You think you would give up the first time? Would you turn around and reinstate it for it to be dissolved the following year? Make that make sense. So I can believe that she allowed it to be dissolved again because, you know, you start getting some attention in the wrong direction, you get a little heat and pressure build up. This may be her way of trying to kind of cover up some things here, because this is a mirror image of what Alex Nitchoff did that landed him in prison for 5 years on the 2 charges he received. That's just 2 charges he got, 1 count each. 5 years in prison. Come on now. Aisha Properties. Lord have mercy. So we're coming up on an hour and 38 minutes. This is the last piece that I wanted to show you all. So in my due diligence and trying to figure out, you know, how you got Aisha Properties dissolved. It's in a FBI subpoena. And you got this property here. You know, this house valued at $110,000. You know, transaction types of treasurer's office all over. Yeah, you know, it makes you wonder, like, what is going on at this house? What's the deal with this? So I looked it up. This is the white pages. I just put in the address. I highly doubt she occupies this home physically, but, you know, in the white pages, it does say people living at. That could just be because she's the homeowner. I don't know why they would put down here she lives there, because it's kind of misleading. But either way, you guys can see that her address here is sitting at this address that she lives at. And that's what it says, lives at. this home. But look at the bottom. There's another piece of information that was emailed to me from my fantastic supporter. Look who at the bottom here. Albert P. Mahoney. Now, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Could be Mahone or Mahoney. I'm not going to butcher it. But if you guys, and I just want to kind of bring light to this particular, and you guys can Google this. I printed it out, so it's got these weird letters, but you go on White Pages, put in that address, and it's going to give you this information. And you can see here, there's someone else listed that's currently living. If there was a prior address, it would be listed under prior addresses. But it says here, lives at, for Albert P. Mahoney. Now, who is Albert P. Mahoney and why is he significant? Well, like my fantastic LLC supporter stated, there's some connection to super stupid and people who do weird criminal things. Not necessarily Albert P. Mahoney. However, you look down at the relatives here. You see this name here, Antione Mahone. Or it could be Antoine, because, you know, sometimes our names are not necessarily pronounced the way it's spelled. So, yeah. But you see this name down here. I highlighted. Now, I highly doubt Super Stupid is occupying this home with this Albert P. Mahoney. So it's safe to say he's occupying the residence. She's the landowner, the homeowner. But this connection to this Antione Mahone here goes back to this article here. Like I said, my LLC supporters will be on it. I told you I was going to do a video on it. I just had to kind of put it together where it makes sense. Yeah. 12 defendants indicted for alleged roles in scheme to obtain more than $1 million from counterfeit checks. Why does this sound familiar? Sounds familiar. You're super stupid going to whole banks and having people remove without their knowledge or approval, without their signature on a document to have them removed. You know, I don't think she allegedly flashing up $600,000 checks to cash, but somehow won't be bold enough to put it back up again, or post bank statements, or to disclose who those other individuals were that she listed on that bank account. Makes you wonder, for you to be at a home or a property homeowner, because I highly doubt you live there, with someone whose relatives are connected to this counterfeit scheme for checks, of all things. Funny how that works. She's signing checks without the village clerk's signature on it, based on state law and ordinances and resolutions. Basically local laws. Laws are laws. Now she forget the village clerk, forget doing the right thing. Forget the law. She's taking it upon herself because she just really wants Oak Construction, whose CEO is now in prison for 5 years, to get a lot of money. $206,000 for a roof, window, door, whatever. Don't care. Now he in prison. And you're renting a home. You got someone occupying a home who has relatives connected to this counterfeit scheme. So I'm just going to go to the bottom here. You guys can see it's basically kind of giving some background information. You guys can look this up online, and it's public information. But they basically, obtain more than $1 million from counterfeit personal and corporate checks. Corporate checks. Okay. You putting people on accounts that don't belong on it. Corporate checks, and actually obtaining more than $700,000 by cashing the bogus checks at various local banks and sharing the proceeds among themselves. It just rings and screams something very familiar. Even more of a reason why it's annoying for someone to try to give her a pass on something when she had the village clerk violated laws to have the village clerk removed from an entire bank account. And this is in conjunction with her using the clerk's signature stamp to try to circumvent getting a board approval just to pay a vendor whose CEO is in prison. And now you rent a house to someone whose relatives here, one of the 10 defendants, actually 2 of the relatives, are connected to this. For $1 million counterfeit check scheme, how ironic. See this here? Defendant Anthony Mahone at this time, and not this is going back to 2013. But the point is, if you're not running a background check on your tenants that's renting a home from you, what are you doing? Why would you not check to see, maybe perhaps this person I'm about to rent this home to, LP Mahoney, might be related or have some sort of connection to people who had a whole bribery scheme with counterfeit checks. And you got Anthony Mahone here, who's one of the 10. This is not, and I bring this up because this connection is just eerily, it's unsettling. I personally would not rent my house because this came out in 2013 now. Y'all can see, LP Mahoney is still in that home based on the white pages. Maybe he moved, maybe he didn't. I don't know. But to have connections to someone who has relatives connected to something like this, I wouldn't want you staying in my damn house. Hell no. Y'all can't live here. I don't care. You ain't got to go home, but you got to get the hell up out of here. Bye. Y'all have fun on your journey. Hell no. Just like the lady that they were renting that house from. I mean, last year I kept saying in videos, please take your house back. You have no idea what they're using that house for. Take your damn house back. And she got her house back. But to have this connection to people who facilitated a damn counterfeit check scam. And let's not forget the video of Super Stupid going into that check cashing place that I'm still curious to know what it looks like on the inside. You got caught on a video going in there. What mayor goes into a currency exchange check cashing place again? Who does that? Especially when you knew that you effed up when you went to court and agreed to be removed from the bank account that you fraudulently had the clerk removed from, adding 2 other individuals unlawfully, illegally, violating laws. And you go to a check cashing place. You had that come. You knew you were going to be removed. And then you captured going to a check cashing place. And connected to people who've already been charged and went to prison for a counterfeit check scheme. You can't make this up, y'all. You just can't make this up. So, it couldn't be me. And here's another relative down here, Lanada Mahone. Yeah, this is the cousin of Antione. In this article, that's exactly what it says. But this is crazy. You see it here. Antione Mahone's cousin. You can't make this up. So, no, I refuse. At this point, I refuse to accept the nonsense buffoonery of a cop-out of an excuse. Well, she didn't do all this stuff by herself. Most of this she's doing by her damn self. You know what I hope? I hope these same people saying that nonsense, why they somehow captured up in the cloud somewhere up behind, Super's ass, go to court and say that to a judge. See how far that go. That judge gonna say, listen, we ain't hear about everybody else. We're not here about the trustees. We hear about the stuff she's done that violated the law. We hear about her nonsense. They're not gonna want to hear that shit either. So that's not gonna be an excuse. You go to court talking about, well, it wasn't all my fault. Yeah, okay. Go in and piss that federal judge off. That'll fare well for you. Yeah, that should work out for you just fine. Go in there and sit here and try to shift blame and deflect blame and responsibility in the presence of a federal judge when your ass get indicted. Trying to make it seem like you don't understand nothing no more. They want to blame it on everybody else. Lying on Keith Freeman, whom I don't like at all, for forging your signature on a lease? Did he also forge your name on them checks to Oak Construction Inc. that you admitted you gave work to for $206,000? How much was that kickback? I'm going to keep asking these same questions until you prove otherwise. Please post that $600,000 check up you allegedly wrote the cash. I would love to see that. Email it to me. But you can't get bank statements? Ugh. She's a grown-ass woman. The public deserves the right to know, especially the people of Dalton, what's going on with their tax dollars. The least that can be done is posting and making the credit card and the bank statements available to the public, to the people of Dalton to review. But to have access to an account where you could do that on your own, you want to sit here and make these trustees look bad, post up the bank statements. You trying to prove some point that they're doing some nonsense, post the bank statements up. Let's see it. I want to see that. I don't care about nothing else you're talking about. I want to see them bank statements. Yeah, You can't claim that you don't understand how crime works when you connecting yourself to criminals. You got Siggy up here doing nonsense with car wash and them 3 pins associated with it. That big ass delinquent tax debt. You got properties in your name, probably acquired through Aisha Properties that was dissolved twice for reasons. That's now listed in a subpoena. This is ridiculous. Just give us the damn disclosures. And you can go on, do as you wish. I hope no one plans on writing her in for Supervisor Thornton Township. It's a joke that she even tried to make that public that she wants to be a write-in candidate. No, the hell you don't. Girl, bye. All right. That is all I have for this video, people. I hope you all enjoyed that because I had a lot of fun doing all of this research. I know there are other great content creators out there that have touched on the St. Patrick's ordeal, but like I stated earlier, my goal in this video was not to hone in on the specific taxes itself when the amount of the tax debt is questionable at best, especially when you have this repetitive request for appeals, for evaluation. And then additionally, the problem is not necessarily just having properties and stuff, because people can do that legitimately. No, the issue is how they are acquiring the properties. And if they're facilitating a scheme to avoid paying property taxes and then to try to resell this property, a lot of whatever, for a profit. Just like Alex Nitchoff. He's in prison for the next 5 years. And they tried to get more prison time with him. So, super stupid. What the hell you think you gonna get? Once again, this was a lot of fun. I love stuff like this. All right. I have another video I'm going to be doing. Yep. Pushing out this content today. Trying to fight through these allergies. You guys make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. You want to donate to the cause of Lady Luck Club and the research and the information. Feel free to do Cash App and Zelle. It'll be in the description. Please, if you can, donate to Dr. Oh my God, my mind just went blank. The young lady that was featured in Tommy G's video that has that market. Please donate to her. She deserves it. I think when you're doing great things like that for the community, you're talking about giving away free Similac. That's $26, $27 a bottle now. That to me, and then for her to be so humble about it. She's not walking around here bragging, talking about me, mine, look at what I'm doing for y'all. Y'all owe me all this. Look at what I'm doing. No. If it's with true intentions, good intentions, and you're doing it from the bottom of your heart, you don't ever need to brag about it. And I think it's just, a beautiful thing to see someone really helping their community that had to fight against dumb adversity that should never have existed because Super Stupid should have signed the damn license permit, and Keith Chicken Nugget needs to stop acting stupid as well. Please don't sit here and you think you're being funny by trying to act like you don't know who she was. It was just dumb. Please donate to her. You guys check out Tommy G's video he did on Dalton. I don't know why anybody thought he was there to be fair and neutral to Super Stupid. It's like, did you not see his video last year? Come on, it's got 5 million views. There ain't no way in hell. Now you give somebody like this that after all the information I just presented, based on what she's done in court documents, and continues to lie about the trustees. All the trustees are not on a bank account. It's just 2. Because that's how the resolution is written, the ordinance. Only 2 people on the bank account. You don't want all the trustees on it because it's harder to keep track of who doing what. You only need the 2. Now you got Jason House and the village clerk on the bank account, and he's authorized to make payments from it. That's how the law is working here. Ordinances are local laws. So I want you guys to continue to, check out great content on the channel. Got a whole playlist for this little girl. Hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe. My birthday's coming up March 31st. I would love to see at least, 35,000 subs. That would be great. As a matter of fact, I'm shooting for the stars to 50. So you guys make sure you share this great content. And take care of yourselves and each other. Till the next video. Deuces.